Well, joining us for more on the issue of the 30,000 naira minimum wage, joining us is Channels Television's data analyst, Babajide Ogunsowo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening.
So, this amount has been approved. Will this have a large positive effect on the economy? And what do you think workers would likely do, save or spend more?
Save or spend more, your guess is as good as mine. But I'll tell you what I think workers will do based on the evidence we have. But I'd like to start from a slightly different perspective and listen carefully to this. Over half a century ago, exactly on this day, the 5th of May 1961, American Alan Shepard became the first American to land in space. Now the question for today is not when will Nigeria land a man in space. The question for today is when will Nigeria create space for that young graduate to land a job? Now let me make myself clear. While a lot of workers deserve a good minimum wage, many more Nigerians deserve their first minimum job. So while the conversation on the minimum wage goes on, we also need to start the conversation on ensuring that over 20 million Nigerians who don't have their first minimum job get a job. That should also be what we should now look at going forward, that we've gotten a minimum wage. But you had asked, will workers save more or spend more? Let me share this secret with you. Would you prefer to be on an 18,000 naira minimum wage that was approved in March 2011 or the 30,000 naira minimum wage of today? Now, the evidence from the National Bureau of Statistics and the Central Bank shows that that worker that was earning 18,000 naira minimum wage in 2011 will be able to buy more if he takes that 18,000 naira to the market than that worker that is collecting 30,000 naira today. In other words, when Congress was signing the 30,000 naira minimum wage, it was actually an approval to lower the minimum wage. Think about it for a second. 18,000 naira of 2011 is worth more than 30,000 naira of 2019. That is how we should look at it.
So these are some concerns, especially looking at Nigeria's economic growth and then the possibility of it reflating the economy.
You know, the concerns about reflating the economy, Henry Ford said that it is not the employer who pays the wage, it is the customer. The employer only handles the money. So at the end of the day, what he's talking about is that customers ensure that businesses make money to pay wages. So when we have concerns over reflating the economy, rather than just focus on the economy broadly, let's focus on the customers. And by customers, let's look at the concentration of labor. And what you find is labor is highly concentrated in the southwest. For instance, you have 18.4 million Nigerians who are employed in the southwest. That is more than all those that are employed in the north central and northeast. So the solution is to reflate the economy. We not only have to diversify the economy, we need to diversify labor. We have an over-concentration of employed persons in one region, while other regions are looking for jobs. So that is the solution to reflate the economy, ensuring that we focus more on the customers, not just focusing on companies.
Let's look at the objective of labor productivity. Some economists believe that a higher minimum wage does not necessarily guarantee higher labor productivity. So what really can we do to boost labor productivity?
Perhaps they're right. If I quadruple your salary, will your productivity quadruple? And so there are valid concerns that a minimum wage does not necessarily guarantee higher productivity. One way that we can look at how productive we are as a nation is we could look at the labor output. But one creative way is to look at our internally generated revenue. And if you look at the IGR report from the NBS for 2018, you find out the problem, and the problem provides the solution. Now, the problem and challenge we have is that there's also an over-concentration of output in the southwest. In other words, the internally generated revenue of the southwest in 2018 was 533 billion naira. Approximately half of all internally generated revenue comes from the southwest. So the solution as well is we need to ensure that we have more regions that are productive. So first is we need to ensure that labor productivity is spread across regions, and we also ensure that regional development cuts across other areas apart from the Southwest. The challenge is the Southwest offers too many opportunities while other regions offer fewer opportunities. And even those living in the Southwest say those opportunities in the Southwest are dwindling. That is the challenge we face.
I'd like to thank you so much for joining us.
But you know, in the final analysis, remember the word of a wise man. It says, it is not your salary that makes you happy. It is your spending habits. So even if your salary is not too good, watch your spending habits.
To spend and save.
Spend and save.
Thank you, Bawajide Ogunsanwo, for joining us.